The morning after their wedding, the villa still carried the faint sweetness of white flowers, an almost too pure scent that lingered in the air like a quiet omen. A scent that didn't simply celebrate a beginning, but hinted, somehow, at the price of stepping into a new life. Deep woke first. For a brief moment, she remained still, watching James sleep beside her. His breath rose and fell in calm rhythms, his face unguarded in a way that made her chest tighten, tenderness and fear rising in the same breath. The question formed before she could stop it, and almost on cue, the tranquility shattered. James's phone rang, a sharp, metallic sound that sliced the dawn quiet. It wasn't just a phone ringing, it felt like the opening note of a storm that had been waiting for the right moment to strike. That night would stretch longer than either of them could imagine. Hours later, the living room glowed in a muted amber. James and Deep sat across from each other, and between them rested a small silver USB, so deceptively ordinary, yet so heavy it seemed capable of bending the air around it. James inhaled deeply, then plugged it in. A single folder appeared on the screen. Open if you dare. They exchanged a glance that was half fear, half resignation. James clicked. The video opened on a room Deep recognized instantly, the tiny place she once shared with little NHI before meeting James. A camera hidden high in a corner of the ceiling had captured everything: her working late nights, NHI running into her arms, the two of them sharing dinner with mismatched chopsticks. Ordinary moments. Moments no one else had the right to watch. Her throat tightened with a fear that felt old, familiar, and deeply unwelcome. Then came the final scene, one that scraped the color from her face. A man stood outside her door, leaning down to peer through the narrow gap. A cap obscured half his face, but the intent was unmistakable. This wasn't curiosity. This was hunting. James's hands turned pale from the force of his grip. When was this? He demanded. I don't know, Deep whispered, voice trembling. I didn't know anyone was watching us. The final frame froze, the man lifting his head just enough to expose a partial view of his features. Not clear, but familiar. James swallowed hard. He was at our wedding. A flash across the ceremony crowd. A pair of eyes that lingered too long on Deep. At the time James thought it odd, nothing more. He should have trusted the instinct. This man hadn't come to celebrate. There was also a text file. James opened it. You think you escaped? Remember, everything began with you. And I can end it with a single word. No name, no number, no trace. James struck the desk with his fist. He's playing a sick game. Does he want money, or does he want to destroy you? Deep didn't immediately respond. And her silence, heavy and pained, told James one thing. There was more she hadn't said. James touched her shoulder gently. Tell me the truth. Has someone ever threatened you before? Someone like him? She looked at him, truly looked, and he saw it. Fear laced with shame, the kind that comes from carrying a burden too long. Before I met you, there was a man, she murmured. He helped me when NHI was born. I thought he was kind. But later, he changed. He became controlling, then dangerous. James's jaw tightened. Did he hurt you? Not physically, she said shakily. But he threatened that if I ever left, he'd make me regret it. I didn't dare report anything. I just ran away with NHI. James closed his eyes, anger simmering hot enough to scorch. If I find him now, he said quietly, I don't know if I can stop myself. Deep's phone vibrated. Unknown number. The USB was only the beginning. You remember what we promised each other, don't you? A photo appeared, NHI, playing in the living room that very afternoon. Inside their home. Deep screamed. James sprinted through the house, doors, windows, closets, his voice echoing through the halls. NHI was safe, asleep with her stuffed bear. But the window was cracked open. Someone had been near. Too near. James called neighbors, security, friends with access to street cameras. But none of it mattered as much as the chilling realization. The stalker was close enough to touch their lives, close enough to decide when to strike. James returned to the living room, chest rising with barely contained fury. I'm calling my father, he said. Deep shook her head instantly. No. He already hates me. If he finds out about all this, he'll think I'm a burden. He might force us to separate. James stepped closer. I don't care what he thinks. This isn't about pride anymore. This is about protecting you and NHI. Her breath caught. His resolve was terrifying and beautiful. James pulled her into his arms. I would lose everything before I let anything happen to the two of you. And in that moment, Deep understood. Whatever happened next would decide the fate of their family. Just as he reached for his phone, it lit up. His father was calling first. James stared at the screen. A cold weight formed in his stomach. He answered. James, Mr. Carter said, voice low, restrained, too calm. We need to talk. It's about your wife. James froze. You know? A pause. 3 seconds. Long enough to terrify. Then, The man stalking her, he isn't a stranger. He used to work for me. Deep's breath hitched. James felt something inside him collapse. And now, Mr. Carter continued, his tone edged with something James rarely heard from him, fear. He's no longer under my control. The line went dead. Silence filled the room. James stared at Deep. And for the first time since their wedding, he was truly afraid of what his father just revealed. Afraid of what it meant. Afraid of the war that had just begun, and the enemy waiting in the shadows.